We did it. We made
Hooray!
it. As always, it's an adventure. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Anyone who decides to pop on in.
Oh, didn't mean to do that.
Okay.
We're just going to say that tech is my best friend.
Yes. Let's say that this time it was not because of me that we are starting at 2 minutes past the start time. But thank you, Danielle. Danielle says the Sheila and Danay show is always and always so much fun. Fabulous. Well, we appreciate you being here so much. You just don't even know it. For anyone who tunes in who doesn't know, my name is Sheila Williams, and I'm an intuitive coach who finds herself all kinds of places around the world, and today coming to you near Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And hello to my lovely co-host.
Hi.
Figuring out her tech.
Yeah, normally tech is not an issue for me, but it seems as of late I can't do things. So we're going to pretend it's Mercury. I can't even say it. Mercury retrograde.
It is. What do you mean we're pretending? It's on until the 30th.
Oh, I thought it was on until the 28th. Have fun with it next week.
Okay, well maybe it is the 28th, but that's still not today. So I wrote it down. Yes, the 28th it's supposed to end. So until then, I guess you'll just have to suffer.
Wow, I'll just flail about. But it's fine. Like it's highly entertaining. Hi, I'm Danay. Not at all awkward. But I'm here enjoying the lovely energy of the people who are hopping on. So
yes, good morning. Buenos dias. I love that we have some people already commenting. So know that you can comment. We can see it. We can even display it so that everyone can see it. And we would love to interact. And how appropriate that with absolutely no strategic planning, Danay's actually led us to kind of our topics already.
I'm that good.
She is that good. It's true. Danay, what do you want to talk about today? Where are we starting?
Power, baby.
You got the power.
Power, because we have a tendency, surprise, surprise, to give away our power in all sorts of ways. And recently I had a lovely discussion with the group, and there was so much insight and excitement around the word power. So I think that's a great opportunity, and we're both coaches, so we like to empower people. So power feels like the perfect topic for today.
Excellent. And just in case there are people who aren't quite sure, what I meant was Danay was giving some of her power over her technology to the idea of Mercury retrograde, which a lot of people swear by and other people say, meh, I don't notice it. But the good news is it really does show you that it can be what you want it to be. And if we say, do you know what? On the 30th, it's over, so everything's going to go better after that, it probably will.
Right. And I'm thinking back to the times where I didn't know about those things, and normally they don't faze me. I think what happens is when you yourself don't feel steady or strong, that these other outside obstacles will have an impact on how you feel.
Oh, for sure. Always. And it doesn't have to be, something woo like Mercury retrograde. That's all the time. In fact, we were talking this week about time in one of my workshops and how people often give their power away over to time. I don't have enough time. I'm running out of time. And they base their emotions and their actions on their perception of there not being enough time. But we do it all the time. I often do it with the weather. Well, it's going to be cloudy today, so I guess I should just stay inside. Or it's going to be sunny. I need to, feel energetic instead and go outside. It is kind of ridiculous when we look at it, but it's still what we do if we're not thinking about it.
It's true. And I want to add to your thing, because sunny versus cloudy isn't enough. Like, it's got to be warmer temperatures versus cooler temperatures, because for me, and this is a new sort of experience, I've started handing my power over to weather more than I used to, is that if it's cold out, and sunny, I don't know that I still want to go out. So the warmth needs to be there. Whereas and I'll still go out because I understand that going outside and moving is very important for me. But I would go out in blizzards and I would be like, oh, cool, I'm going out, and now I'm like, no, thanks. So I don't know what switched. But it'll be neat to see what sort of switched off in me that said, here you go, weather, take my power. But we do it with everything. We do it with people. We do it with experiences. We do it with our own thoughts. The thoughts that we have that we've got programmed on our negative self-talk, we give that power. Yeah. So there's tons that we are sort of handing over, these little pouches of power, but we're not handing anything over. We're just forgetting that we actually are very powerful and that we have the ability to stand our ground. And it's not even like I'm not referring to the moments like we don't go out and have arguments with the weather. It's standing in the assurance and the knowing that everything is perfect exactly as it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then I think it can be taken a step further, because when you are in the knowing that all is well, you get to choose how to feel. So you, being very enlightened, take the steps to feel better. And I believe we can also change the weather if the weather is where we were giving the power to, because it's almost stopping and reversing the chain of power. So when you're giving it away and then reacting because of it, and then you come to your moment of clarity and you're knowing, you can go, oh, wait a second, stick a pin in that momentum. Let's actually bring this back to where it belongs inside of me, and know that if it does feel better, I say it that way, to have that weather change, you absolutely can do that. And there are multiple stories that I have heard and experienced for myself of where it looked like it was going to storm and it didn't, or snow and it didn't, or whatever. Or maybe the opposite, like, wow, I want rain. I want water. I want the trees to feel happier right now. And so you can have a pocket of rain, and everyone else says, what do you mean it rained today? It didn't rain today. It's like, rained where I was.
Yeah. And that's an interesting phenomenon. When I was growing up, I would make like just very casual comments about, oh, it looks like it's going to snow or, rain, and it would. And people would look at me. And then people started developing this perspective because of how much I appreciated snow, that they were like, every time it snowed, I would get messages or people would say, it's your fault. And I was like, thanks for giving me your power. But I would be like, this is awesome because I wanted it to snow. I'd even make it snow in April, because I would just be like, hey, my birthday, I want snow for my birthday. I don't anymore. So that is something that's a shift. But the idea is, even people who don't have the perspective that we create our reality, they would give me that power. They would say that me, because of how much I loved snow, that I would be responsible for, the poor weather in their opinion. But I think snow is beautiful. So it's interesting to see. And the key thing here, which I think is important to make obvious, is a non-attachment to it. Because your power lies in being okay with anything, with anything and everything. And if we start picking and choosing, then we're handing our power off to something. Even if we're like, oh, it'd be awesome for it to be a really beautiful day. I need it to be a very beautiful day, as opposed to the first part would be, it'd be cool. It'd be awesome if it was a beautiful day. And if it's not, then it's not a beautiful day. But I mean, when you're alive, all days are beautiful, right?
Well, and that's where it comes down to perspective. So I promised you, for the 6 people who are on this call, we're not just going to be talking about weather the whole time, but weather is a good one because most people don't feel a big attachment, or they don't know that they do. Whereas if we started talking about people, your boss, your spouse, your kids, I mean, a lot of people give their power away to their children, and they're not aware of it. So weather is a little bit more of a neutral ground that we can talk about, so that you might be able to notice if you do that for yourself. How often do you base how you're feeling on these outside circumstances, conditions? We're human. Yeah, we do it. It's true. But the more that you're aware of it, the more you can be in the moment of choosing, does this feel better or not? Because if it does, great, do it, keep going. But with, the other times where you're thinking, this doesn't feel good. Here's what's so important about this, though. When it doesn't feel good, we tend to project onto that outside condition that it's their fault.
Yep.
That's the reason why we don't feel good. And as coaches, that's where we get to have a new perspective. Like, we can hear it, we can see it when people are talking about it so easily. We usually don't see it ourselves. That's true. Danai's very good at pointing it out for me, so I point it out for her too, because we're good friends that way, and good coaches. But what's fun is when you have that realization, oh, that is what I'm doing. Isn't that interesting? So I don't have to do that, because it's not the fault of that outside circumstance, and nothing actually needs to change. It's all within me, and I get to choose. Now you're back in your power.
Yeah. But it's interesting when you're in that experience of feeling the frustration, the anger, the sadness, the pain, whatever it is, and somebody says to you, you get to choose.
Yeah, it's not helpful at all, is it?
No, it's not. But it's only because it's we take the perspective of having lenses or filters on over your eyes, and somebody accessing a filter that's outside of your range.
Yeah.
So it's navigating, especially for the person themselves, it's navigating what they can say to themselves that isn't from a, F this person or F this experience or F the weather or whatever it is, to like, I get to choose and everything's wonderful. Like, there's got to be something in between that allows for the person to even move just a nudge or two in the direction of power, because that's the important thing. Like, I was talking to a client recently who had said that they were frustrated about the turnover time for something for someone else. And, my response in that was, well, you perceive that you were handing over your power in that experience because you were blaming the other person, but you were noticing that you were blaming the other person. You had the awareness. And I said, that's when you start to grab your power back. Like, you're already moving in that direction by noticing. So when you're frustrated, when you're in pain or whatever it is, when you notice it, that's cause for celebration, because that's movement in that direction.
As you were talking about how unhelpful it is to have someone say, well, remember, you get to choose, or you're choosing to feel this way, and it feels so very unhelpful. I think what could be more useful is to imagine a sliding scale, and just to check in, like, where are you on your scale right now of power? Like, how much have you given it away versus holding it back? Because when you're in those moments of grabbing some awareness of, number one, I don't like this. And then number two, what is it that's not feeling good about this? I think it could be really helpful to pull up that sliding scale and then see, oh, it's at an 8. Like, I really handed 80% of my power over to this condition. And to imagine sliding that back, like, I'd rather get to a 6 in this moment, because from a 6, I know I could feel a little bit better and perceive it in a bit of a different way, because that's what we always want. We always want that different perspective. And when we're in that moment, when we're in 8, 9, 10, we don't have access to that new perspective. Of course not. Because we have given it all away. We've given that clarity away. We've given the knowing that we can choose away. It feels like we don't have any choices. That's the whole point, right? By giving that power away, you are in fact allowing yourself to feel powerless. And to get that scale out and say, you know what, I'm going to notch this back a little bit, and just awareness and remembering that the power can be within me notches it back. Yeah. And then from there, keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's important to know of the possibility. That's what you're talking about, is that it's possible.
Yeah.
You know, you get to choose is heavy in a sense of like, it feels overwhelming, which is one of your areas of forte for people. if you're not in a place where you feel like you get to choose, and then you're like, this is overwhelming, you know, talk to Sheila. She's got plenty of practice with me and other people. But one of the things that comes to mind is I've always been on the lookout for a tool that will help me check in on a regular basis. And people are like, oh, set an alarm every hour on the hour and check in that way. Like, you can have an alarm that says, are you in your power? Or what are you thinking about? Or how are you feeling? And all of these things. But for me, that doesn't work because I have a stellar memory. I know when things are coming, and then I just get more angry about it. Like, if I'm in a place where I'm angry and I look at the time and it's like 59, and I'm like, well, that thing is going to show up and I'm going to be like, blah, blah, blah. But if it catches me off guard, that's better. It doesn't always work, but I can't anticipate things. And that works better for me when I can't figure out what's happening. So there are some apps, you know, for Apple and Android that you can use to create your own specific reminders, and you can create the number of times that it happens, and it will just randomly pop up. You know, and for me, I've got, what are you thinking about? You know, drink water, because I want to be more mindful about drinking water. I've got stuff around, like, if I'm thinking something negative, then focus on clearing it or being aware of it. So that, you know, has been helpful in a sense that it pops up when I don't expect it to. So if that appeals to people, I can throw something in the comments about the apps that I use, just to have that, you know, unpredictable aspect of it popping up and saying, how you doing?
Yeah.
Because that's when it matters. Because if you catch it and you notice it, you've already stepped forward into your power.
Yeah. And really stressing that of, a lot of times people feel discouraged because they feel like they're not doing it right, that they don't have the tools. And I love, in fact, I'll just show it here. Joyce has said, you know, just becoming aware helps me to take my power back. The awareness really is the perfect first step, because that means you've already turned your momentum around. But if you don't notice that, it might feel as if you don't know what your next step is, but you've already taken it. You actually have already taken it. And having that awareness that you are now getting back into your power can help you keep moving that direction. But if you think, I don't know what to do, because you're just not seeing that you are already in that right direction, that's when it can feel like very confusing, because it's hard to know, well, what next?
Right. And I want to make it clear, we mentioned it earlier, but I want to make it clear again that we actually never give our power away. It never happens. Like I talked about these pouches of power, but we don't actually hand anything to anyone. We just forget that we have it. Because, you know, some people who are really invested in this and are like, no, I got to hold on to my power, or I gave my power away. It's like, no, you just forgot. Yeah. And we use descriptions like handing over your power so you can see an actual depiction of it. We do it more often than we realize. And having that understanding that you're not actually doing anything. You're shifting your perspective to believe something that's not true. So,
which we all do all the time.
Yeah,
we love to make things up.
We do it a lot. Yeah. So I want to note, though, based on what Joyce said as well, is like becoming aware helps her take her power back. The thought that I had while you were talking about it was, even if you're, say, really angry and you're like, well, okay, I'm aware that I've given my power to this person, this place, this thing. And then you think, but I'm angry and I choose to be angry. That's still being in your power.
Yes.
Because you're making the choice consciously, mindfully, to still be pissed off. You're going to reap whatever consequences associated with it. And for me, consequence is not a bad word. It's cause and effect. But the idea is, even choosing to stay where you are is being in your power. It just doesn't always feel as good as choosing to shift if you can.
But again, consciously knowing that you're choosing to do it, I believe helps it move through faster because you've removed that feeling of powerlessness.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's actually a really important aspect of it, is that we're not, or at least I'm not, I'll let Sheila speak for herself, but from what I know, we're not in the mindset that if you feel fear or frustration or anger or whatever it is that just doesn't feel good, that you immediately squash it and suppress it and go away.
Yeah.
You feel it. It's energy moving your body. Energy in motion is emotion. And your power is allowing yourself to feel it. Now, one of the things I talk about in my coaching is you feel the emotion, but you don't feed it with your thoughts. Like, you don't want to fuel the fire. You just want to allow it to move through you. And an example I give people that they'll understand is, when you feel angry or anything that doesn't feel good, and you squash it or repress it or suppress it, it's equivalent to like that moment. And we know this, especially as children growing up, that when something makes you laugh in an experience where you're not supposed to laugh and you have to stuff it down, that feels really uncomfortable to not laugh. And that's essentially what you're doing with all emotions when you're not letting them move through you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about, well, what does that feel like? Well, prevent yourself from laughing. Find something that makes you laugh and then stuff it mid-laugh. And you're like, oh my God, this feels incomplete, because you didn't allow it to move through you. But we do that with all the other emotions that don't feel good. And we don't give ourselves the power, or remember that we have the power to just let it flow right through us and on to the next thing.
I think the only addition I'd like to make to that is, as you're allowing it to move, remembering, and again, just my perspective, but remembering that it's all about you, for you, about you. And so I know the people who are making comments, I know that they understand this, but because we don't know who might be watching this replay in the future, to remember that it's not about putting everything out so that everybody else knows what they need to do so that you can feel better. Because that is what some people perceive when they say, oh, I'm allowed to have all my emotions. I'm allowed to say anything I want. I'm allowed to tell everybody what they need to do to act differently, or to show up in a way for me so that I can feel better. Right. And that, again, personally, is not where I think this moves the most effectively. For you to choose that I am going to allow these emotions to be here and I'm going to feel them, because it's all about me. I don't need to involve other people. If you do, fine, do it. But for me, the power is within you. This energy is all about you choosing to feel and to allow the emotions to go, and to know that everyone else is doing their own thing and you can mind your own business is a phrase that I like to remind myself, because I used to like to get very involved in everyone else and what they were doing. In fact, I wanted to show this one comment that Alyssa had put about her kids. allowing her kids to just feel their frustration and just knowing that all is well, that there's nothing she needs to fix and there's nothing that she needs to react to so that she also feels frustrated, because that's how we often will keep this cycle going. But just to know that, you know what, they're allowing their feelings. I don't have to get involved. I can let it be their journey, is I think a great gift that we can offer for everybody.
Right. And I see it sort of as an evolution kind of thing, or like we can use the word mastery, but I'm trying to think of, well, Alyssa's got a great picture for her YouTube things, an RPG game. So it's like a leveling up of categories, right? It's your emotional intelligence. And there's different phases or stages of emotional intelligence. And one of them is being able to manage them. But that's later on. That's when you have a stronger grasp on things. And some things you're going to fluctuate in how well you handle your emotions. So when something hits you that's very challenging, very hard, you may not respond in the ways that Sheila's talking about, being able to not include others as part of your soothing. And that's fine. That's part of your journey. But understanding, and I know Sheila and I both agree with this, if something triggers you, it has to do with you. If something triggers somebody else, it has to do with them. Because you can go with all the loving intention and somehow still hurt someone or still upset somebody. But what we're saying is, like, you've hit an aspect of them that still rings true to them, a belief or a thought that still exists very much alive in them. So I myself do my best, and I have moments, especially when I feel very vulnerable, that, if I'm being activated or upset by something that somebody did, I do my best to remind myself that it's in me. There's some sort of belief that they've poked at and said, this is confirmation that that belief is true. And it's like, that belief is a lie. It's my perspective about myself. And I know that all well and good when I'm in a good place. But when I'm in a place that's like, F everybody, then yeah, that creates trouble. But there are approaches, and easiest for me for going through and processing something is externalizing. So I need to talk about it. And I find if I'm talking about it in my head, it doesn't help. I need to talk about it. Writing about it can sometimes help, but I need somebody to provide feedback, because then I can shift my perspective. And that's just how I process things. And that's not even in just the emotion realm. That's when I'm coming up with ideas for the work I do or creating something. I like talking about it. I like expanding on it. And it's an important aspect that I'm aware that I have, but that doesn't mean that I need to lash out or take it out on anybody. It's just a form of expression in a safe space that allows me to process what it is that I'm feeling.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that that's why I find coaching so satisfying, is especially with the type that I do, and I believe that you do as well, Danay, because it provides an outlet for people to express themselves, and we can also guide it so that it doesn't just become an opportunity to complain or to vent, which is what we often end up doing with people around us, because that keeps that energy really alive. Like, let's keep this story going as often as possible. And what we can do instead is we can guide people of like, okay, so allowing the expression, allowing the validation, even just of how you're feeling. Because when I work with people, a lot of them will hesitate to even express, I'm actually feeling angry and resentful of this person, because I know that they're, they haven't done anything. And I know that it's like, no, this space where we're in, you get to say you're angry. You get to say, that this does not feel good. And we can shift that, and we can allow it to flow through and find a place that does feel better. because that normal reaction, even though it feels normal, it becomes what Danay was talking about, of the squashing. And to create a safe space where people can feel what they're feeling and be guided to a better place, that's so good. And again, to bring it right around to the topic, it's bringing them back to their power, where they can allow themselves of, oh, it's okay that I'm feeling this way, and I don't want to stay here. I know that this isn't where I want to live, in this place of emotion. So I know that I can move through it and allow something different. So, and I love that you put Alyssa's comment on there. So
well, we needed to, because it's like, it's acknowledging that this actually helps people. And I know that in circumstances, especially with the work I do, people need that outlet. So, and I'll just add some confirming evidence there. So it's really important to express yourself. And that could be aspects of yourself that are not true and aspects of yourself that is true. And until you find what is your route of expression, and again, I'm not just talking about the emotions. I'm not just talking about cursing when you're angry, or yelling at somebody, or crying. I'm not just talking about that. Our expression is our creation. So whatever you are creating, even if it's in the work you're doing and the hobby you're doing, you're expressing an aspect of yourself. And that your soul, your mind, your body, your emotions, you need that. And it's what says, I remember my power. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about consistency of things, because a lot of us get a little bit frustrated, myself 100% included, when it's not a one and done thing. Because I'll be like, okay, I did the thing. I had the coaching call, or wrote, all of my emotions on the page, or I did whatever it is that I did. And it's like, and it came back. And then I did the thing again, and it came back. And I did the thing again, and it came back. Guess what? You're alive. You're human. Somebody's going to piss you off.
Welcome to life.
Yes. Somebody's going to do something that's going to poke at you. And if nobody does anything that pokes at you, you're either not seeing anybody, or you're very good with managing your emotions. And that's perfect.
Yeah.
But the idea is consistency, especially in the experiences when you're at your darkest or heaviest points. Because one of the things that I mentioned to you prior to us hopping on the live was talking about comebacks, coming back into your power. And if you're somebody who, for instance, is going through a grieving process, or just a really tough period, one of the things is, the mentality is like, you're in this rough space, and then suddenly you need to be better. And it's like, it's not linear. It's like a bouncing all over the place, where it's like, oh, here's a good moment. Oh, I'm back into the grief. Oh, here's another good moment. Oh, I'm back into the grief. So you don't have a single comeback. It's not like, oh, it's been, almost a year, and I'm finally starting to feel more like myself. In that period of a year, you've probably had 1,000 moments, maybe more, that you have felt more like yourself. They call them glimmers. And when you've had that glimmer, that experience where you come back into your power, you come back into your knowing, it doesn't last because of where you are. But it also, if you're going about your day to day and everything's perfect, you're not even going through a difficult period, you're still going to have moments that are going to knock you on your ass. It's just inevitable. So there isn't a single comeback in life, because people will say, I went through hell for 6 years and I'm coming back. No, you came back millions of times before that. Every day is an opportunity to come back into your power. So I personally feel lighter than I have felt in the last, 10 months. And that might change this afternoon. I might go back to feeling crummy. I may not. But it all depends on acknowledging the moments where I have these glimmers or these moments of coming back into my power. So I wanted to really talk about that today in a sense of, you don't have a single comeback in life. For every moment you're alive, it's an opportunity for a comeback. So keep coming back into your power.
Wow. I want to pop on. Alyssa's just reinforcing here. Each conscious moment is anchoring who we choose to be. And that's powerful to remember. That's absolutely coming into your power. And so, as you said, when you're in those lower, denser moments, it's harder to remember. But to give yourself tools by even having something like this written on a piece of paper or posted on the wall of just, I can look at that and it can help me to remember, whether you can get there immediately or not. So, and even this idea that Danielle puts, like rebranding the self. Yes. And we can continue to think, this is how I'm feeling right now. This is who I am right now. I actually can change this. And we change it all the time without being aware. Now that I'm at a certain age and getting older by the day, as we all are, it's fun to look back at different times of my life and eras and have the awareness that it feels like a completely different person, a completely different life. And sometimes it's hard to remember that that was me, the version who was a master gardener, the version who knew how to, renovate a bathroom from the ground up. Like, I don't know that I would feel confident doing it now, but there was a time when I did. And it's like, who was that person? And as the years evolve and our just life happens, we do continue to rebrand and to change and have different labels and titles. And we resonate with different ideas. And it's fun to be aware of, oh, I'm doing it all the time. And I just wasn't aware of it. So I can come back into my power and more consciously choose.
Yeah, 100%. And it's a gift in the fact that it's like every moment is that opportunity.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter where you're at. Like, even when like life is, coming, like heading your way exactly where you want it to be, things are perfect, you're still choosing each of those moments. You're just not consciously aware of it because everything's flowing so well. You're just like sitting there going, this is awesome choice. Acknowledging it, evaluating it. And if people aren't familiar or are not too resonant with rebranding, it's a recreation, it's a canvas. There's a song by Natasha Bedingfield that talks about you're writing your story. Unwritten, I think is what it's called.
I think so.
But you're the author of your life. Like, every day, every moment is a blank page.
Yeah.
And yes, this feels good now, but when it doesn't feel good, then your page is just filled with all that stuff. Like, you can't get it wrong. You can't get it wrong.
Yeah.
So keep coming back.
It's fun when you mentioned the topic of comebacks. Of course, my first thought was athletes. Yeah. And, they have an injury and they need to go through a healing process and then a re-strengthening process and the reminding their muscles of the muscle memory and supporting that along the way. And then they're back in the game. And it, as you were saying before, like each step of that is them coming back. But in their mind, there may be I haven't succeeded until I'm back on the roster on the first string again. And to know that, no, actually, every single day that you decide to wake up and maybe go to rehab or do your exercises or eat nutritiously so that your body has the building blocks or whatever it might be, that's you choosing. That's continuing to choose, because you could choose not to.
Yeah.
And you could say, you know what, I'm done with that. I actually want to do something completely different now. I don't even want that to be my goal. You're allowed to pivot in this conscious choosing all the time.
But we're always navigating what feels like us. Like there's a theory that talks about, you discover your identity when you're an adult. It's like you go through your childhood, your adolescence, and then you come back, you come back from that and you're like, oh, I know who I am. I'm like, I'm in my 40s. I don't have a freaking clue. I want to go back to the injury thing though, because I thought, I was like, this is brilliant where you're going with it. And then I thought, this is where she's going to go. And you cut it. So
yeah, go ahead, finish for me.
I want to extend your brilliance. It's totally you. It's like you inspired this, because we don't think about it this way. An athlete experiences a physical injury and then they have to build their way back up. We experience emotional injuries all the time.
Yep.
That's what they are. They're emotional injuries, but we don't acknowledge them as that. That's what our perspective brings out, is what does it feel like? And if you feel hurt by something in life, that's an emotional injury.
Yeah.
If something frustrates you, that's an emotional injury. But it's not in a way that it's taking away your power. It's acknowledging that you can experience these moments of hurt or pain or whatever may be, and you recover.
Yeah.
You always recover, because the body is always healing. The body is always healing. So I'm just going to shout out to Sheila there. You were taking it, and that's what most people think of. They think of the comebacks, right? In the athletes, in the sports realm, but it's in life. We're continually coming back every day. And whatever sort of wound or injury we're experiencing, again, not to make it seem like we're fragile little beings. We're not.
Mm-hmm.
We came here because we're freaking awesome. I'm trying not to swear.
I know, I can tell. Thank you.
We came here because we are awesome, because of what we can handle. And that's why we're experiencing this consistency.
Yeah.
And Sheila shimmers like gold. So why not let her speak the gold that she shimmers?
Well, I think the awareness of the emotional comebacks is incredibly powerful, because again, the more you consciously choose to be aware of what you're doing already, the more you realize how powerful you are.
Yeah.
And the more you can realize what's possible, because you can shift, you can pivot, you can choose something different. You do it all the time. But without that awareness, when something that feels bigger happens, you think, I'm not equipped. I don't know what to do. And I can't feel better. Well, of course you can. Of course you can.
Yeah. I want to do a little shout out to, I'm going to say Danielle, but anybody who's like really into sports, and talk about, now it fell out of my head. That's wonderful, because I was excited to say it and then it fell off. Oh, there it is. Thank goodness, because that was funny. You can create a new play. So in football, God, I love this. In football, if something's not working for a team, they create different plays and then they call out different plays. But sometimes in life, the plays you've already organized or set up or created aren't working. So you're creating a new play.
Yeah.
And like the past year, I've said, I've been going through something and my original plays weren't working. They weren't working. So I was like, what do I do with that? and that you, amongst other people, were encouraging me without saying these words. You're like, create new plays.
Yeah.
And whenever it was said, especially where I was and where I can move back and forth from, was like, no, no, no. But on the point of no, that is what toddlers and people who don't feel in their power use to feel power. No is a powerful word. And when you feel powerless, you're going to say no to things because it helps you feel a moment of power. You're saying, I am in control. I still get to choose. So I love the Friends reference. So I'm going to show it, even though it's not. Yeah. Pivot. That's what we're doing. We're pivoting in life.
Yeah.
Because what tools you've chosen to create all throughout your life, especially childhood. Oh my God. We created all sorts of tools. People pleasing was a big part of my childhood. It's still a big part of my life, but I'm moving through it. That is not a tool that actually is helpful, but it was helpful at a point. It's not a play that people use for, that has the same benefits, but it served a purpose. Everything that we do, habits, thoughts, beliefs, all serve a purpose in some capacity. It's just realizing that it's no longer going to serve this purpose in the same ways that we need it to. So, when you're feeling completely powerless, start with no. And now, because I use it, and I know Sheila's fully aware of it, because she'll be like, well, why don't you try this? And I'm like, no.
I was going to say, maybe don't try it as long as Danay did. Try it and know that there are other options too. So
yes.
Get that sense of power and quickly pivot to something right again.
But it's a moment. It's a moment, yes. Right? I work with a client that I've been working with for the past year, and we're moving into realms that are very much outside of the comfort zone. And they would have never thought that they would be in these realms. And you can feel that rebellious side of it. Sheila, you've got your rebellious side too.
Yes.
Yeah. Coming out of this person going, and not even explicitly going, no, you just feel it. Like you can sense it, right? There's like a huge, no. And then I'm like, well, why don't you just express what you're actually feeling? And I said, and then we let it go. Yeah. Because your body is here to take care of you. Your feelings are here to take care of you. If something doesn't feel right in a moment, say no. Even if it's like the best advice for you, you're not ready to receive it then. And that's okay. 30 seconds later, you might be more open to it.
That's true. To continue to remember that you're not locking yourself in for a long term anything, even if it's something that feels wonderful. You can't say, this is the best cheesecake that I've ever eaten, and I'm going to experience this exact same amount of pleasure with every bite for the next 5 years. That would be ridiculous. So you get to enjoy it for the moment, and then you're done. And sometimes even before you're done the piece of cheesecake on the plate, you're kind of like, I think I'm over it. Like that same joy doesn't exist with every bite anymore. So I think I'm complete. I'm satisfied with that experience, and I'm going to move on to something else. So isn't it funny that sometimes we think if we say yes to something, it's going to be, now I'm locked in and I'll be out of choices again and out of my power again. It's like, no, you won't. No, you won't. And the Danielle's referencing Abraham Hicks. Well, yes, no, well, maybe. And they often will use a buffet analogy. And I used that with someone just yesterday. Like, you don't have to, think that, well, but there's lima beans in the buffet and I don't like lima beans and I don't want to have to eat lima beans. And okay, then just go put something else on your plate. Don't even walk near the place that has lima beans. You don't have to. So it's so beautiful. Remembering, coming back into our power. I get to choose. Bringing that scale right back into the 1, 2, 3 range of, oh yes, I do get to choose. And I get to choose again. And I get to choose again. And I can keep making choices that move me along a certain journey or path where I continue to remember my power and my choice. And I can keep pivoting. And I am allowed to change my mind. I'm allowed to enjoy every bite of this piece of gum. And when the flavor is gone, I get to spit it out. That's an Abraham Hicks one too.
Yeah.
So great analogies sometimes.
Yeah. I knew, like, yes. You can yell at the lima beans as you walk by them if you want, if that makes you feel better. But
you can be personally offended by them. It's true. Some people do feel very personal offense by certain foods, but yes. I'm going to switch away from the conversation of mushrooms. Thank you, Alyssa. What a sweet comment to say. I celebrate you both for creating this powerful and fun celebration of inner power. And yes, isn't it beautiful that everyone who listens to this, you are all gifts. You're all bringing the energy to this, and we are all creating a ripple of remembering. And that's all ever it is. It's just coming into that remembering.
Yeah, you're a gift. You're a miracle. Like, I stop myself at times and I think about the body and I go, holy crap. It's absolutely exceptional. The things the body does. And if you're part of something so exceptional, how can you not be exceptional?
Yeah.
If you're part of something so miraculous, how can you yourself not be miraculous? It's just about of amnesia. You've just forgotten your worth. You've just forgotten your power. You've just forgotten how freaking awesome you are. I always talk about the remembering it. Because it's like, we didn't give anything away. You just forgot.
Yeah.
We forget things all the time. Because we go back into a cycle of automatic pilot, right? We go back into that cycle. And then go back what you were saying around the shifts and changes. You know, in psychology, they've, especially around personality, they're like, well, what are the key things that stay consistent in life? Change.
Mm-hmm.
Change is the consistent, stable thing in life. We're always shifting. Our bodies are never the same as they were before. And one of the things that comes to mind is a joke that kind of makes me laugh in the ideas of, you want to see a picture from when I was younger. Every picture is from when you were younger. You could have taken a picture of you, 30 seconds before we hopped on the call, which we used to do. We used to do a little screenshot.
Yeah.
And when you've taken this picture, you're like, oh, this is a picture of me when I was younger. Because we're always evolving. We're always shifting. Our cells are continually going through a regeneration. Our minds, our bodies, like our souls, our emotions, we're going through an evolution, a transformation. You don't even have something profound happen and you're changing.
Yeah.
You can't stay still. And that's a very frustrating thing for some people who like to stay comfortable in life. Comfort is very important to me. And one of the things I realized is, like, I won't move until I'm uncomfortable, but I'm not the only one on the planet who does this.
Of course not.
So, I brought up the idea of, like, somebody's like, well, why are things difficult right now? And it's like, because you were really comfortable and now it's time for you to move. It's time for you to change. So we won't move. If we're sitting in a chair and the chair is really comfortable, unless we have to get up and do something, we're not getting out of the chair. But if we sit down on a chair and there's a thorn in it, we're getting our ass right up. So life will sometimes hand you thorns that are small or big or various sizes to say, get the heck up.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to move. It's time to shift. It's time to change. And I still have that little part of me that's like, F it. Because I like comfort. But if you really want to strive to be your max potential, the best version of yourself, you need to evolve. You need to change. Yeah. And the experiences are going to shift. People are going to shift, and some will go with you and some won't. And that is part of life. as much as I'm kicking and screaming internally. That is part of life.
Well, some changes, I guess, feel more smooth than others, but I'm actually, I don't know what links actually show up with YouTube, but I'm going to put the links in the chat here. It didn't do it the way that I copied and pasted it, but we'll put it in the notes of the replay. I find that a lot of people struggle with the change because they feel overwhelmed. And I am actually running a free workshop. Okay, Alyssa says, I see 2 links. So yes, there are 2 links. We'll redo that while Danai's talking about something, and just so that they're separate. But I'm running a free workshop on September 12th, and it is about overcoming overwhelm, because for me, that definitely used to be a big topic, is just not knowing the next thing to do because there was just too much. And I think that is pretty common for people, of just what's next. There's too many choices. I don't know what to do. So you do nothing, and then you criticize yourself and judge yourself for not taking action. And you just end up in this big old mucky cycle. So if anyone who does see this wants to join us, it is an absolutely free 60-minute intuitive coaching workshop on September 12th. It's at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, and I'd love to see you there.
Yeah, and it's awesome. So I highly recommend.
Oh, thanks. And then I am actually also running a sale, which I do about once a year, for coaching sessions. And I think coaching is the best tool in the world. I think we should all have coaches. I know I have coaches. See, I don't know what I'm making it look nice, and it drops in here without any spacing. So who knows? It'll be in the notes, and you can always
be a link that, and we can adjust it in the comments and stuff. I can't actually, I'm not able to comment, so I privately messaged you my link. So if you go to the private chat, you can add that in. But I want to. There's a private chat. Yes,
I see it. Awesome. I'm copying right now.
So thank you. So to comment, yeah, Sheila's holding these workshops. They're ongoing. They're awesome. Sheila has been one of the main people in my life who has helped me make tremendous shifts with my mindset. So I highly recommend. And happy birthday, Sheila. It's getting close, getting excited to celebrate her own awesomeness and her own evolution. Another rotation around the sun. She is doing a wonderful, fantastic sale that I think is a steal. So steal it. Steal it, 100% steal it. I may even steal one. We'll see. But the idea here is to celebrate her birthday, which is in a few days. I think hop on board if you at all are curious, but you can also book a discovery call with her to get a sense of her energy privately, and she's going to post that link as well. Sure. On my end, this coming Monday, so the 26th through the 30th, I'm going to hold 30-minute calls, so 5 30-minute calls of the goal of just uplifting people. So for those who aren't familiar, I also channel. So that's actually what I'm going to do at this event, is channel uplifting energy and words. And it's if those who are listening are familiar with Abraham, they're going to be sort of like rampages for the first 4 days, and then there's going to be an opportunity for a Q&A. So if that appeals for you, Sheila's dropped the link in the chat for me. So thank you, Sheila. I think why it's coming up is because of, my coming back and my repeated comebacks. And I want people to have that experience of coming back to their remembering of how wonderful and fantastic and miraculous they are. Because everybody is magic. So tune into yours. Yeah. Or ask Sheila. That's we should throw this up there. I'll do it. So it's like.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Tracy, for popping on.
That's beautiful. Yeah, Sheila's fantastic. You cannot go wrong with Sheila. So I'm a huge supporter of Sheila. but not just because of our friendship, but also because of the fact that she's changed my life. So if you're looking for a life change, then call Sheila or call me because I'm awesome too. So
well, it is true that Danay is awesome, and I will definitely be on her rampage calls. It's a great way. It'll be earlier in the morning for me, so a great way to start the day. And how much fun that there's someone for everyone. And thank you to the people on the call and commenting here today who work with both of us and know that we are very different, but we're very aligned in knowing the goodness of everyone here and knowing that you have everything you need within you. And it's also more fun to have a guide to remind you. That's all.
If you want to throw the latest link that I just shared with you in private is my discovery call if anybody wants to book with me. But yeah, you can't go wrong with either one of us. So I'm just showing the love of the people on the calls. You know, the reason why we're awesome is because you are open to your awesomeness.
True.
So thank you for being open to your awesomeness. Because you all, like, I firmly believe that everybody is absolutely incredible. We just forget. So we forget our awesome power. And as Alyssa says, it's a fact.
Yeah.
I can hide it and go, Sheila's awesome. And then I can go, fact. I keep this or a little of that.
Danielle.
You know, who thinks Sheila's awesome? And then it's like, Avi.
Well, it's a joy for me to spend my time the way I do, because I have the 2 memberships going right now. I've been running these free workshops just because I thought I want to play with more people and not have it be something that they have to even commit to. They can show up and if the topic feels interesting, then they do. And to have the private sessions, I love to create that relationship with someone and to have the continuity and to follow along on their journey. It's a joy for me. So I have loved a lot of the different versions that I've lived in the past. And so far, this is my favorite.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, you're kicking ass, Sheila. So I'm proud of you. And I think you're great. So
thank you. Back at you. And look at you all glowy today and going to be rampaging all week long. So it's exciting. It's moving with that energy. And we're in a time of such great creation right now. I think that is our only goal, is to allow ourselves to remember as often as we can, because we're setting the foundation for everything that we want. It's just, it's right here, right now. It's just our ability to see it. That's it.
Yeah, 100%. Something popped up real quick. I mean, aside from Alyssa's beautiful comments and Danielle's and all the lovely people on the call, is if you want an additional reminder, Sheila may not know this, but I enjoy Post-it reminders. So,
oh, I know.
So if you feel inclined at all, write the words "come back" on a Post-it and stick it somewhere. I have not done that. I don't plan to do that because I have my nice reminders on my phone, but it just popped up. So I thought, why not share? That might resonate for somebody. And then put it on the mirror, put it on whatever you see when you first wake up. So come back to power.
Simple tools for simple reminders, and they can make what will feel like the biggest difference. And that's again. Thank you, Alyssa, for giving her that power to just drop that in all the time. It can make a difference. Things feel big. They don't have to feel big. And that's it. We can bring that scale back and know that none of this needs to feel big or overwhelming. But if they do, then come on to the workshop on September 12th, and then we'll play together on just simple tools.
All People haven't realized I'm a child.
Well, yeah. They do know that. Yes, I love it. Oh, see, I'll see. I was clicking Danielle's and you had just put it on. So it showed me, come back to your power. I'm making a comeback. Yeah. And remember, you're doing it right now. This is you in your comeback right now, wherever you are in this moment. This is you coming back. So. Okay, we're at that hour mark, and we so appreciate there's still 8 people here. People have been coming and going, and I do know some people will watch the replay as well. So thank you if you're here now, if you're here on the replay, and we always have so much fun. So this was maybe a heavier topic. We've had some where we've literally just talked about decluttering Danai's apartment, but there was, that's I think one of our best ones too. So if you haven't seen that one, go to the replay.
That was number 2. Yeah, that was our second one when we were together.
Yeah. That inspired a whole course. That was amazing.
Oh, and I look forward to the second part of that course because that's just ready to come through. So
yeah, that is amazing. Awesome.
Keep playing.
All right. Have an amazing day, everyone, wherever you are in the world. And thank you for being a part of our energy. And this is always a lot of fun for us. So thanks for coming to play.
Happy birthday, Sheila. And I love you all.
Thanks. Yeah. We'll see you all soon. Bye.